Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Chocolate Saiyan, Flatzoid, Neil, Paul, Righteous Force, Sleeping Warrior, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Good morning.
Hello, hello.
Yo, yo, yo.
Good morning.
Yo, yo.
There you go.
Morning. Yo.
I just want to give a special shout out to all the trolls that are not polluting mine and Nathan's channel right now. It's like 90% of them missing. I wonder where they've all gone. Shout out to those trolls.
Shout out retracted.
Yeah, well done.
Shout out retracted. As an enthusiastic start, far better than the 0 replies I got yesterday. So, excellent. Thank you for a good start today. Hello, everyone in Discord.
Good morning.
Thank you,
Hey.
Zelty. Thank you very much for saying hello. Let's see how we get on with housekeeping. Hopefully we'll get some response to our Discord. Everyone is off mute. Any evidence of a physical geometric... I'll try. Too keen. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as Earth curvature?
Not
No
today.
evidence.
Physical, you say?
Not yesterday.
Hold up. It can't be physical if it only existed in math. Can't be
Yeah, it's
physical.
only in the maths.
Nah.
Nathan.
Nah, unless math actually
Nathan, what-
refracts, like Rumpus told us one day. It was refracting in the math.
Nathan.
Go on,
They could owe
Flatzoid.
it to you.
Nathan.
Go on, Flatzoid.
What comes first? What comes first, the geometric horizon or the refracted horizon? Can't have both.
The geometric, you've got to be able to measure a tangent point, and they can't. Got bent lines to their horizon, so no tangent, no straight line. Did you hear the latest one that they tried to obfuscate this with? Was everyone aware of Rumpus's latest trick in this regard? Because if not, I'm going to break it down.
Two balls.
2 balls, yeah. So they have 2 circles. And they say, look, at the tangent point, you can have a second circle, which is a curved line, meeting the first circle. So you can have 2 curves meeting at a tangent point. Now, the tangent point is just the point that a straight line's going to be joining it. That's why it's going to be called tangent point, because it's a point that a straight line meets it. Now, they're using this example of 2 circles intersecting with tangents as a get-out for their bent line to their tangent point horizon they don't have anymore. Because it's refracted, right? Refracted with R. Well, R is the basis of their geometry, and that needs a tangent point. It needs a straight line, and they've relinquished it, leaving the model in a paradox. Hey, Arwin, by the way.
Hello.
So yeah, if you ever try and get caught out, just remember, if they introduced a second circle, it's like, okay, well, that's fascinating. But you've got one claim to be sphere Earth, presupposed, with a tangent point, so you can presuppose a straight line to the horizon with a curve beneath it. So your line of sight's going to be straight, so you can call it a tangent. What's that? Oh, it's bent! Oh, it's not a tangent then. What are you talking about? Geometry. Bent line? Well, no. You've got geometry. So you're assuming the curve beneath the tangent. Well, if you haven't got a tangent, how are you going to assume the curve beneath it? You can't. Dead globe. Black Swan wins again. Unlucky fundies. Your 2 circles meeting together have still got tangent line to them. It's not bent. Like your donkey dick to the horizon. Unlucky. Better luck next time. Any more on
Where are they going to go from there?
Nowhere. Model's dead. Earth is flat, Neil. Nowhere to go. Every avenue leads to death if you try and challenge the black swan. The globe model dies down every avenue.
Hey, I noticed in something yesterday. I was talking to Tenth about this yesterday. Didn't Andrew Thomas Young say there was a maximum that refraction would occur?
Who cares? He's begging the
like-
question. In his explanation, he starts off by describing the horizon that's geometric as having a line of sight to it. Later to describe not being able to see it. So he contradicts himself in his first sentence, saying you've got line of sight to something you cannot see, and you cannot have a line of sight to something that cannot be seen.
No, I get that, but even him, if they start arguing that, but even Andrew Thomas Young said there's a maximum that if you refract the horizon, it would only take it at like 0.10 of a mile.
Yeah, when he assumes R, giving him a tangent point to a line of sight he cannot see. So all of that assumption with his maximums are based on a measurement he can't get.
Right, but again, as a summary of yesterday, when I put up the two slides from Andrew Thomas Young, one was dealing with 1.22, which is the geometric horizon that they don't have, because it's all a model, it's all a Jedi mind trick. And the second was on that same model, on that same Jedi mind trick, with refraction, it was 1.32. So if you go back to the Black Swan modus tollens, if the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles p, then every geometric horizon distance measurement must be no more than 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, q, geometric horizon. Okay, so now that easily could be changed to the second one. If the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles p, then every refracted geometric horizon must be no more than 1.32 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, q, the refracted geometric horizon.
You can't have a refracted geometric horizon. It's a contradiction in terms.
Well, if he's got the 1.22 and the geometric horizon is not possible, then why are we using it?
We're not. That was QE's argument with you. Why are you even asserting it? If you've got a
No,
refracted...
I'm saying, well, hear me out. If you got the 1.225 from Andrew Thomas Young for the modus tollens, why can't we just transfer it to the 1.32 and kill that one too?
Because you can't
Because
get
it's
the 1.3...
1.32.
Because you can't get the 1.32 without the 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet to give you a geometric horizon to base the 1.32 on. So you can't get to that.
That's my point, but we're using it based on what you just said.
You are.
No.
Yeah.
Who's using?
No,
They
hang
are.
on.
They
I'm
are.
confused.
The tent's very triggered. They are.
Yeah,
And
that's what
10
Jimmy
man
was
is.
saying.
May I finish?
Well, no, because
You're allowing them to reverse the burden of proof.
May I finish? You came on just now, Nathan, and said the line of sight you can't see, quoting Andrew Thomas Young. Well, why don't we just use that statement from him and not have a modus tollens?
Well, it's part of the modus tollens because their rebuttal is to say that they've got a refracted horizon. And in response to the rebuttal, which you're asserting for them, you say, no, you can't have an R-based refraction if you can't get R.
No, what I'm trying to say is that when I posted the 1.225, I also posted the 1.32, and I got hell for it. For what reason?
Because you can't have it. Because why would you assert it when you've already debunked the basis of it? At 10th, you're very triggered when I'm 10th, please. Because you can't get to that as a fundy, Globehead. Well, why are you giving it to them? Why are you getting their forum? Why are you saying, well, let's assume we can still get the geometric tangent point to give us R, to move the horizon with an R-based refraction value? Why would you give them that? When, no, they can't.
I'm not.
10th, please. They can't get there, and you're taking them there with an R value they haven't got.
They can't get there with the 1.22, and you're giving them that.
No, I'm not. We're debunking
You're using it in the
We're
modus
debunking
tollens.
R. Their assumption is R. We pointed out that it was a begging the question fallacy. Then we've debunked it with modus tollens. Then you're saying, well, let's give them R back again, so we can debunk the next bit with the assumption of R that we've just debunked with modus tollens. And your response to that is, well, why have modus tollens? Why not just point out they've got a line of sight to something they cannot see? Well, they've only got that rebuttal because of the black swan. You can't change time. That's how things have progressed.
That's
Exactly.
not what I'm saying.
Black swan is the rebuttal.
Why do you think that what I said is not a rebuttal? I'm quoting the same
Terrestrial
guy.
refraction, sorry.
Can we move on?
I'm quoting.
We did this for 20 minutes
Yes.
yesterday.
Yeah.
It got
It's
QE
your show.
very
We'll
angry.
move on. You don't want to discuss it.
It's not that I don't want to discuss it. You're giving them an R
Yeah.
for a refracted...
I'm not giving him anything.
Yeah, you are.
Can you
1.3.
just
I start
interrupt?
off by saying the whole thing is a model. It's pseudo. It's fake. It doesn't exist. It's now reality. What did I give him when I start off that way?
When you give them 1.3, whatever, you're giving them the R value that's been debunked with modus tollens to then say, well, I'm going to give it them back so I can then debunk their refracted assertion. Well, the
No,
refracted
that's-
assertion's debunked because it hasn't
Can I
got
give
an
a
R
comment?
value. And you're constantly
I-
interrupting me. What's going on? Jesus
misquoting
wept.
me.
Can I just reply?
You're misquoting me.
You're giving them R when you give them the refracted value at 1.3. And they haven't got it to utilise it, and you're employing it to say, I can debunk it. Well, you can't employ it to debunk it if you can't employ the R either.
So when QE says even with giving them gravity at 200%, what's he doing?
Not the same argument.
Excuse me, I
hold
was
on.
talking to Nathan.
That's not this argument.
What's he doing?
So what? That's not this argument. Take it up with him.
Well, what I'm saying is I'm doing the same thing. They have two numbers. They have the 1.22 without atmosphere, which is bogus, and they have the 1.32, which is bogus with atmosphere. They're both
Okay.
bogus. None of it is real.
Yeah, and in the same
None of it is
respect,
real.
okay, if you want to use that example, I'll use it too. I had the same exact thing from Sleeping Warrior, who coincidentally is on the panel. Why are you giving them bloody gravity? I'm fighting it. And we're like, yeah, but it's not really key to my argument. And he's like, yeah, but it's key to mine. Stop giving it them. And we're like, yeah, but it doesn't affect whether or not you can have gas pressure without a container. It doesn't matter. It's not flying in the face of entropy. Sleeping Warrior got pissed and was like, no, I'm fighting gravity and you're just saying they can have it. Stop it. And both Q and I had to eat humble pie. QE and I had to eat humble pie. It's a bit of a mouthful. And say, okay, you're right. No, okay, fine, we'll stop giving it them when it's not necessary to give it them. It's not key to our argument, so we don't need to give it them as a quick response to, well, you can have gravity, it doesn't make any difference to my argument, because that does affect his argument. And if our argument is you haven't got R, we've debunked it, you've got to have a tangent point to get it, you giving it them back to say, well, let's use R in a refracted value when they move the horizon with R to a slightly further position. It's like, no. The whole point of this process was to debunk R. So you can't just give it them back to move the horizon a bit to debunk that.
That's where my
The only way to actually give them terrestrial
Owen.
refraction is by giving them R.
Owen, everyone's blood's getting a little bit more elevated and you're not helping. I don't want 10th Man to start getting pissy. I'm already pissy. Just let him have his piece.
I didn't give him R. I am debunking both pseudo claims, period, by stating at the beginning, none of it is true. It's a model. I'm discussing a model and model claims. I'm not giving them nothing.
Okay, another comparison would be to say, I'm not giving them the geometric sphere edge horizon and earth curve maths. I make sure I make points to say that it's a reification model. Now, if the earth was a sphere, then the geometric calculator says the horizon will be at this point blocking boats and buildings. Therefore, we should see this amount of the building. Well, at that point, I take issue. It's like, no, what we should see isn't based on the reification, regardless of how much you point it out. And what we should see in this instance with the Black Swan isn't ever going to be utilisable, if that's a word, with R, because it was debunked in the modus tollens. You're giving it them back. I know you don't want to accept this, but you are.
I don't accept it because I'm not giving anything back. I am destroying both claims by addressing both claims as pseudo. If you can use his quote for 1.22 miles, I could use his quote for 1.32 and say they're both wrong. That's
Okay.
all I'm saying. I take offense when you say I am saying or I'm giving back when I'm not, because when I debate people right from the beginning, I tell them it's not there, it's not real, it's a model. Now let's go break the model.
Okay, 5 times
Sorry,
is
can I
enough.
give it-
We're not going to agree on this. I know we're not. But fine, I concede. That's the way you're going to debate it, whether I like it or not. I've had to concede the same thing, and it happens daily with flat earthers saying what we should see is X. So, whoa. Your eyeballs tell you what you should see, and it's based on what you've seen, not what a model tells you might predictably see based on reifications and assumptions of R. So I don't accept this phraseology, but I've had to tolerate it. And in this instance, I don't want to. But you're not going to accept that. I'm not going to accept that you should be doing it. I'm always going to see it as you giving them back something that's been previously debunked. But, fair enough. You're saying, I want to cover every base. They're going to beg it, so I'm going to beg it for them.
See, this is where the defense comes, Nathan. When you say I give it back to them, that is what the defense made. I don't give it back to them. I have to have a conversation with a normie, and a normie, or even a slight troll, let's put it that way, who brings up refraction. I could destroy all the layers of the onions. I'm not begging the question or giving it back to them. I'm destroying that rebuttal with it, just like the modus tollens does.
Okay.
Sorry,
fine.
Clint, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead. You can, go ahead. Then I'll shout out a couple of super chats. Go ahead.
Then to understand why I said the geometric appeals against the refraction horizon. Because they appeal one another. You can't have them both. So by saying
you think I don't know that?
More, I know, but I'm saying what do you think is a stronger argument? By telling them you don't have them both, or you can't have any of them because they appeal each other.
Okay, let me tell you how it goes real quick, because you guys are dense. Hey, you can't have a refracted horizon without a geometric horizon. You don't have a geometric horizon, so there's no refracted horizon. Ball game over, black swan.
Cool.
Okay, but what if it's the atmosphere effects? I go, okay, what if it does? What is it? 1.32. Okay, the horizon's over 10 miles, so you still don't have it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, now
But you just gave it to them with that comment.
Okay, so now you've clarified it, 10th. When they say, what about the atmospheric effect? That's a bait and switch, because their atmospheric effect isn't atmospheric effects. It's 7/6 of a radius value that's already been previously debunked with modus tollens. That's what they're going to be applying, 7/6R. So when they say, what about if we consider atmosphere? No, they're not going to be, though. They're not going to be considering atmosphere. They're going to be considering R. Just debunked, like, literally a second ago. So you just have to stop them there and say, no, your atmospheric effect isn't an atmospheric effect. It's 7/6 of a radius.
Right, 7/6R terrestrial, because you have to have the R to get the 7/6R. And then even with your stupid made-up atmosphere, it's still 1.32. The horizon's over 10.
No, it isn't, though.
Mike.
No, it isn't, because that assertion requires the radius to give the assertion you've just given. Let's stop. I don't want to do it for 6 more times. Right, good servant.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Also, someone else super chatted in between, and believe it or not, I was so intent in this conversation that I missed it like I would if a Glober was on. But that's just a testament to how good 10th man's prowess in arguing is. Let's give Nick L's IQ moment of silence. Let's give Nick L's IQ a moment of silence, and then peace sign and ponderance face. Okay, thank you very much. Unbelievable predictions. Yeah, indeed. And there's your moment.
Right.
Hope it was worth $2.
So can I give a comment?
Of course you can, Ara. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Right. About the terrestrial refraction. At this point, because it is a paradox in how it's supposed to prove R, the only way to basically help out a baller to reify it into reality, even just for the moment, is by giving it to them. You understand? So you should never give them terrestrial refraction ever as a vantage point ever, because that's the only way they can even reify it, because it's a paradox. So there's no reason to ever give it. It's only there to try to give a response to the black swan anyway.
That's why I don't give it to them.
I mean,
that's why I address it and don't give it to them the way I address it. My goodness.
Okay.
Oh, was I implying that?
Yeah, you were absolutely implying that, but you didn't directly say it was about 10th man. He took the implication to heart.
I know. He's been taking that like for 20 minutes.
Look,
The
it's
all
fair
kinds of
enough,
things
right?
people say for some reason today.
Arwin,
I don't know.
every time...
Well, listen, you guys go do it your way. I'll do it my way. Let's move on.
Exactly.
No, I'm
exactly.
just saying that you seem to take this all very personal, even though it might not have been
It is
meant
personal.
like that.
It's his
No, I
debating
didn't take it personal.
It is
It's
personal.
some people are just not getting what I'm trying to say, and then saying what I'm saying when I'm not saying it. So it's like, don't misrepresent me, don't misquote me. Just do it your way. I'll do it my way. Let's move on.
Okay, fine. I'm happy
Some
to move
people.
on.
Is that Nathan? You mean?
Some people
Well,
have very...
when QE comes on, when QE came on yesterday, grumpy like normal, and F's me live on the show, what do you want me to do? Sit there? You think he's a master stag coming to his herd? You know, a bunch of stags here. We're all alphas. Give me a break.
I quite like that.
I
Master
beg to
Stag?
differ that. But
Yeah, I'll
Fine.
picture him that way.
You're
Master
taking it
Stag.
way too personal, 10th.
No, he's not gonna come in here, tell me to shut up, and tell me I can't do what I'm doing because he's
yeah,
the
he will.
master
It's
stag.
QE. He does that
that's-
to me.
That's
He does that to
what he
me.
is. You're taking it way
He does
too
that to
personal.
everyone. Again, you're taking this very personal.
No,
also.
no, I'm a
yes,
stag.
yes, you are.
No, I'm a stag
Does
too, and I
that to
just
everyone.
Arwen, I'm locking horns with another stag. That's not personal. I'm in a fight.
Oh, that is
Not
personal. That is per definition personal. When stags lock horns, that is personal. Very, very
Yeah.
much. It's very funny that you would use that as a,
So
as a
self-defense.
comparison.
So self-defense is personal. I agree. Self-defense is personal. I agree.
Yeah, we can all take it up our own ways. Everybody's got their own opinions. Everybody's got their own way of debating.
No, you can't. You'll do it my
Easy as
way. Moving on.
Yeah.
Any evidence?
Well, when something's debunked and you bring it back, it is personal.
Oh, God.
Thank you,
Neil.
Neil.
God,
I don't want
hate
to
you,
start
Neil.
this again.
Yeah, we nearly
but
moved
you
past
didn't
that
get it
then.
either. Well, don't accuse me of something.
Well, don't
Because-
feel accused because we're not accusing.
Don't tell him how to feel.
Stop asserting that people are constantly talking about you. Maybe they're not anymore.
Yeah, but we are.
Oh,
We are specifically
not.
talking
Obvious.
about him. It
It's
is
obvious.
specifically personal.
Let's move on.
Why are you all telling him not to take it personally when we're personally attacking his personal style by name? What's wrong with you people? We are directly attacking 10th Man, right? And he's defending himself, which he's got an absolute right to do. He's done it really eloquently.
It's
He's
a matter
been...
of perspective.
Ugh.
oh boy.
We're
I'm
going to
not
have to
attacking
agree to
anybody.
disagree.
Exactly. Chocolate isn't.
Let's say Chocolate's take on it. Everyone else
Prophet, you
should have.
never attack anybody.
Hold on. Let's say Chocolate's take. Did Chocolate pipe up?
No, I just say I'm not attacking anybody. I understand what 10th Man is saying, but I understand what everybody's saying here. But I just don't understand why it's gotten to this point.
Stop attacking me, Chocolate. Stop attacking me.
Yeah.
Can we not do... there's no need for this, right? No. Why are we demeaning what's going on? Right? He's got a difference in opinion. That doesn't mean we have to suddenly demean him. Or talk about him in the
that's what I'm
third
saying.
person. It's outrageous. Like he's not even here.
All
Sorry.
It's
right.
the
we have-
revenge for always punning around all the time.
We
Damn
have
it,
Man can
Ant-Man.
handle it.
we had our fun. Let's
You're
move
damn
on.
rock.
Oh, did
We're
I
all
just hear a car
hard-headed.
squeal?
Damn rocks.
Was that a sound of tyres screeching? Did someone just crash into the paint booth?
No, that's a paint booth starting up.
Oh, I thought it was just someone crashing. Shout out to Alexander
Yeah.
for the super chat. He sent me a unicorn. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, are we done
How about this?
berating 10th Man for his differing style of debate? Notice how I just cast all blame onto everyone else with that statement.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. He's going to be terrible anyway.
Wait,
but
wait, can
we
I
can't
make an
change-
analogy?
He's
Can
an
I
old
make an
coot
analogy,
set in
though?
his ways.
Can I
I'm
make
going to be terrible anyway.
Can I make a quick analogy? Like what I'm hearing, right, is the way 10th Man is going about with the refracted horizon. It kind of sounds to me almost as the same thing as when QE says, look, I'll give you guys all the Newtonian gravity you want, all the Einsteinian gravity you want, and you still won't be able to affect entropy. It almost sounds like the same thing.
That's a different argument.
Exactly. Come on, Neil. That's exactly what I'm doing, Chocolate. Thank you.
I know.
No.
Like they
Let's
don't
just,
have it. They don't have it.
I
But
was just gonna.
it's
let's
like
just-
even if I gave you that, Well, you still don't have it. Well, that's
Exactly.
what 10th man's doing.
Hold on.
Exactly.
Hold
But
on.
before
Hold on.
that-
Hold on. Hold on.
Yeah,
Hold on.
Different
Chocolate saying,
argument.
oh, God, hold on. Chocolate saying, if I give you all of the 7/6 that I just debunked, no, it's not like with gravity. It's got literally nothing to do with the argument when it comes to entropy. So you go, have it. It's got sod all to do with the argument. In this instance, I'll give you the R I've just debunked. So you can say I've got this much of it in my refraction to move the horizon. It's just been debunked because you've disclaimed you don't have a tangent point. So I'll give you back your R and your tangent point that you haven't got, so you can assert 7/6 of it, and then I'll debunk that. That's not comparable to giving something that's totally red herring, nothing to do with the argument, in my opinion.
Unless I do it the way I do it, and the way I do it is I bring up
chocolate. That's what I think, chocolate. You may differ in your opinion.
No, all right, that's fine. I see the difference you're going at. In one instance, you're going as far as the debunked argument, and in the other instance, it's the argument that hasn't been proven. I think that's what you're trying to do. Is that what it is? Because gravity obviously hasn't been proven, so it doesn't need to be disproven. So therefore, giving it to them is like whatever. But with the other argument, as far as the radius and all that, that's been established already according to their narrative. So,
but that's not proven.
Been debunked.
Yeah, it's not proven either. So that's why I'm like, kind of the same thing. But I don't know.
It is.
Everyone has their own approach. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
it's all bullshit anyway, as far as I see it. So.
But anyway, isn't it surely more embarrassing for them that you have to give them back something you've already debunked?
Oh my gosh. Can we get it clear here?
Well, that was a
cover
question to you.
7/6R terrestrial refraction and say you can't have it because you then got the R. And as Chocolate said very precisely there, but even if you want it, it still doesn't work. That's all I'm saying. I'm not giving him anything. My own side thinks I'm giving him a debunked argument again. That's nuts.
It's not. The guy who just asked you a question, can you repeat your question? Because it was a good question. It's directed at you, 10th man, because you're the only one who can answer it. Go ahead. Do you want to repeat your question? Is it Jim?
Yeah, basically, it's making them even more embarrassed that you have to give them something that they can't have anyway. It's already debunked. But you're just like, on a theoretical, if you do have this, it still doesn't work. Yeah. Sorry, that wasn't very concise. But...
No, I think you're close because I distinguish between the black swan and the radius, and you can't have if you don't have a geometric horizon, you can't have any of it. It's over right there, done, finished. I'm with everyone on that one for sure. Then they want to continue talking, and then that's when they get more embarrassed because they're going to bring up refraction, which is, and kudos to QE, he built the argument for them to bring up refraction. He made them bring it up. And this is where they die again. And that's all I'm saying. Now they're in my playground, and I'm going to have a lot of fun with them because I'm going to destroy all of refraction based on the R.
Alrighty then.
What R?
That's half an hour.
That's right, that R.
That's what I'm saying. What R?
Half an hour on a nuance of one housekeeping question.
Can I say something?
Yes, go ahead, Paul.
Any evidence of gravity?
You're roboting.
No.
Did you
Is
hear
there any
any
scientific evidence of gravity?
Oh, we're moving on. See, even the other panel want to move on. Yeah, good question though.
Yes, if there was any scientific evidence of gravity.
Feel free to answer.
For the third time, no.
No.
The only one in LIGO I'm aware of.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
They can't. Neil deGrasse Tyson came on last night with a video, and he was talking about science is hard. I don't know if anybody caught that. It's about 20 minutes long. It was so embarrassing to listen to him. they don't do the scientific method in astrophysics, all this mathematical equations. Well, I mean, what are you manipulating? A concept?
Science doesn't prove anything.
Yeah, it does. It's all it does.
Pseudoscience doesn't prove anything.
Yeah, what they had was pseudoscience. That didn't prove anything, so they've got to throw an empirical method that only proves things. Its only purpose is to prove a hypothesis. Got to throw that under the bus, right, if you haven't got any. Paul, are you on? Did you want to add something?
Nope, sorry, can't say nothing.
Is it you're causing background noise? I was trying to be subtle.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here,
okay.
I'm trying to mute myself. Sorry.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No, because you'll see a 15-degree hour. You'll see a 15-degree hour drift, and you don't get that anywhere.
Any more? Any more for any more? Highly covered topic in the last couple of days. Axial rotation, Coriolis effect, deviation, drift, 15 degrees an hour thereof. No? No comments?
But didn't Bob Nodell prove it?
Has Simon Dunn tried to say anything yet?
Yeah, there's a bit of a conflict there. Got a very strange scenario where the globers claim a flat earther proved there's 15 degrees an hour deviation as Earth turns underneath the spinning gyro, fibre optic in this example, and there's Dan, who's a globe earther, asserting there's no drift. So the globers think Bob proved there's drift, and the glober himself thinks that there isn't any. Very weird. The reality is we're just not spinning. There's no effect to prove we're spinning. There's no 15 degrees an hour deviation as Earth turns underneath an inertial reference frame. That's not happening. So they're left with a bit of a quandary. When we point out it's not happening, there isn't a 15 degrees an hour drift, they tell us, well, we wouldn't expect one, even though I'm claiming that as the proof we spin, because they're idiots.
But what does Sagnat effect got to do with the drift anyway?
What's what got to do with the drift, sorry?
Sagnat effect.
I don't know, you tell me.
Sagnat effect.
Yeah, what about it?
Because that's all the gyro does. That's all the gyro does. Sagnat effect.
Sagnat didn't find rotation.
Say again.
But I don't know, is there any actual video of this ring laser gyro? Because all I got was Bob Nodell saying it. Like, I'd like to see actual video, video of the thing doing it.
I haven't actually seen that, but it's not really that relevant, as strange as that may sound, and you might think I'm poo-pooing you or fobbing you off. I'm not, and I'll explain why. I take it as read. All right, Bob proved there is a spinning gyro, and gyros don't drift. Yeah, that's the point of a gyro. It spins, and if you've got like a bicycle wheel, so you get a bicycle wheel, take it off your bike, and you spin it on the end of your finger real fast. If you tilt your finger, it'll stay in the same axis. So that's what the gyro's doing. It's in a fixed inertial reference frame. It's just spinning away, not moving. Now, the assertion is that the cage moves around it because it's attached to Earth, and Earth is spinning underneath that fixed frame of that spinning gyro. And the deviation rate between the cage attached to a spinning Earth and the gyro not attached, spinning in its own reference frame, is 15 degrees an hour. That's what is claimed by the globers in respect to what Bob is asserted to have proven. Now, he's not asserting that in the slightest, but that's what they say he's proven. They say Bob proved that the Earth turns underneath that spinning gyro that's not drifting. It's not actual drift. Gyros don't drift. They spin and stay in the same general position. But the cage around it is spun because Earth turned underneath it at 15 degrees an hour. That's what they're saying Bob proved. Okay, I'll accept that. Let's take that as read. So Earth spins underneath. Got any better examples? Yeah, I have. Neil deGrasse Tyson. He says that the ball leaves the ground and Earth spins underneath it. It's the same effect. It is called Coriolis effect. And how do you get Coriolis effect? Well, Coriolis effect is achieved if you're spinning underneath stuff. So the prerequisite condition to have Coriolis is you observing stuff from a platform that's spinning. And they assert we're on a platform that's spinning. Now, anything that we observe seem to drift is only seeming to drift because Earth's turning underneath it. And we're seeing the effect because we're turning with the Earth that turns underneath it. So like the gyro, the cage is turning with a turning Earth at 15 degrees an hour underneath balls and underneath bullets, and you see a not actual drift. In other words, the ball that Neil deGrasse Tyson describes making the field goal isn't actually drifting. You're turning underneath it. Not actual drift, Coriolis effect. Well, if you're turning at 15 degrees an hour, as they claim Bob is supposed to have proven, he hasn't, but let's take it as read. So Earth turns underneath at 15 degrees an hour. We have 15 degrees an hour drift. Well, if Earth turns underneath a plane, for me to look at it and go, oh, it looks like it's curving, because I'm turning underneath it to have Coriolis effect, not actual drift, well, that not actual drift I observe is only being observed because I'm turning underneath the plane. That means Earth's turning underneath aeroplanes. And that would shorten the flight time if you were travelling west. Now, that does not happen. Likewise, you'd push the up stick on a drone on the equator and then let go, so it hovers. But because Earth's claimed to turn underneath at 15 degrees an hour, it would appear that your hovering drone moves away from you at 1,000 miles an hour. Now, you're not powering it away with motors at 1,000 miles an hour. You can't do that. A drone can't speed away at 1,000 miles an hour. And you're not pressing anything on the control surfaces because you've let go of the sticks. So it's hovering. But the claim is that it would disappear from your view at 1,000 miles an hour because you're turning underneath it. 15 degrees an hour translatable to 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. That's Coriolis effect. Like you on a roundabout, looking at something not attached, seeming to come towards you because you're spinning underneath it. A lamppost that you're underneath seems to come towards you and then go away. That's Coriolis effect. They claim the same effect is had on Earth, and things that aren't attached drift at 15 degrees. Well, that would shorten flight times, and you'd have drones drifting away at 1,000 miles an hour. Hot air balloons would be landing in different countries when they've gone up on a nice, clear day. So it's easy to debunk this assertion we have Coriolis effect, because that effect is necessitated by Earth turning underneath stuff, and you observing stuff while you turn underneath it. That's what Coriolis effect is. You observe it if you're on a roundabout, that's turning, and you'd observe it on a turning Earth if you were on an Earth that's turning, and you were turning with it, watching stuff drift that isn't on it, like balls and bullets, as they claim, and drones, and helicopters, and hot air balloons, and aeroplanes, shortening their flight times as Earth turns underneath, with you attached looking at it seem to drift. Coriolis effect. Anyone
So
want to
I
add
get
anything?
is that if we're on a spinning Earth, then everything we see should be deviating.
That's
but
correct.
It's not.
Everything not attached.
Right. So if I'm playing ball with my son, I should see an apparent drift because I'm spinning, correct?
Correct. If you jump up and down, you should see apparent deflection at 15 degrees an hour, translatable to 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. That's correct. That's Coriolis drift. Same as a roundabout. Anything that's not attached to you spinning on a roundabout will seem like it's coming towards you. It's not. You're spinning. So that effect is not actual. It's you spinning underneath that gives you Coriolis effect. But that involves you spinning on the roundabout or you spinning on Earth, looking at stuff not attached to Earth, to give you that effect of 15 degrees an hour deviation, as they claim, proves Earth spins. Now, when we get to the point with the fundies that we say, you're supposed to have 15 degrees an hour drift, and nothing's drifting, they go, we wouldn't expect to see drift. Like, well, you wouldn't expect to have anything proving Earth spins then, other than an assumption that flies in the face of having multiple directions of surface winds. You can't have Earth and atmosphere travelling as one, and have any wind, because it's all travelling together. Well, no, you don't have that. That's nonsense, and doesn't give you 15 degrees an hour like asserted by Tyson. So you're supposed to have drift, you don't have any, And a rebuttal isn't to say we don't have drift when you're supposed to have drift. Any more on drift? As I say, it's been a hot topic the last few days.
Well, can I sum up what I think I hear you saying, Nathan? If this Coriolis effect or this drift or whatever happening in one thing, it should happen in more than one place. It should happen all over the place, right?
If Earth's turning underneath a football, like is asserted by Tyson, and if Earth is turning underneath a bullet, as is asserted by fundamentalist zealots, then it's turning underneath hot air balloons, drones, planes, helicopters, you if you jump up and down.
But that's not happening.
No, it's not. Which is probably why they only assert it with things that are in the air for a fraction of a second, like a bullet, or a second or two, like a ball. Because as soon as you translate that into a ball that's in the air permanently, like an aeroplane, you'd see massive amounts of drift. Flight times would be reduced. A flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to LA would take an hour and a half because Earth's turning underneath it. So that we can go, oh, look, it looks like it's drifting. It's not. And the plane wouldn't account for it because it's not an actual effect. Likewise, if you're on a roundabout looking at a lamppost, the lamppost doesn't have to concern itself with you seeing the lamppost seem to come towards you as you spin underneath it. And likewise, if you're spinning underneath something on a claim to be spinning Earth, the thing you're observing seem to drift doesn't concern itself with your apparent observation of something not occurring. Not actual deflection, just you turning underneath an aeroplane. And that would shorten flight times, and that doesn't happen. And that would have drones drifting away from you at 1,000 miles an hour on the equator, and that does not happen. The concise summary of the argument is Coriolis effect, which is their assertion with 15 degrees an hour, involves you turning underneath stuff, observing it drifting. Coriolis is only ever you on a turning platform. Now they claim you are on a turning Earth, and the drift you see is stuff that isn't turning with you. That's the only way you get drift. Something that isn't attached to the turning reference frame that you look at it from, seeming to drift. The reason it's seeming to drift, like with the drone, is because you push your up stick and it hovers, and then it's not powering away from you. That would be actual deflection. No, it's just seeming to drift away from you. And if you were on an enormous roundabout and you did the same thing, you pushed up on your drone stick and the drone lifts off the roundabout and hovers above it, as you rotate underneath it hovering, you're going to come towards the drone and then go away from it, and then come towards it and go away from it. It's just hovering. But that's what they claim would happen on Earth. The drone takes off and Earth carries on turning under it. That doesn't happen. Simple. We don't have any 15 degrees an hour deviation as Earth turns underneath stuff not attached. It's preposterous. There's no Coriolis effect on a turning Earth. And when we point that out, they say we wouldn't expect to see drift. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
I wanted one last comment. Rompa said yesterday that you don't need 2 reference frames for Coriolis.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was wondering why you would say that.
Because he's stupid.
No, because he hasn't got 2 reference frames. There isn't any drift. So the justification for why there isn't 15 degrees an hour is we've only got 1 reference frame. We wouldn't expect to see this claimed 15 degrees an hour deviation to prove we're spinning. We wouldn't expect to see that proof of Earth spin. That's their rebuttal.
Oh, he's trying to figure out how they can make the Earth spin without spinning. And they do it by Coriolis, basically saying that it can still spin without it spinning. Effectively.
Is that like saying abracadabra? And it just makes everything work.
Yeah.
Coriolis.
Figure out what the problem is.
Allow peanut butter to
Figure out what the problem is.
Allow peanut butter sandwiches.
They think inertial frame means force. That's their problem.
Their problem is doublespeak. We do. We don't.
Why would they think one frame is a problem? apparently our reference frames have been ruined.
They're not ours. Yeah, they're not ours. We don't make no claims with reference frames. So when Simon Dan says, you and your reference frames are destroyed, he's talking to you, Globers. The ones that think Bob proved 15 degrees an hour drift. The two reference frames you use for this Coriolis assertion of Earth turning underneath, stuff not attached, that's Coriolis drift. Well, Dan says those reference frames used in that example of drift at 15 degrees an hour, they're ruined. You and your reference frames are ruined, globe heads. That's Simon Dan's comment. I'll just repeat it verbatim. You and your reference frames are ruined. End quote, Simon Dan. And whose reference frames? Well, there's only one person here asserting reference frames, and that's someone with a globe claim. So, anyone with a globe claim? You and your reference frames are ruined, says Simon Dan. No drift. Thanks, Dan. No drift.
You don't understand what he was trying to say.
On Coriolis, there are actually a bunch of videos on YouTube with guys testing out rifles and stuff. And some of them actually shooting 50 caliber bullets directly up in the air, and then they run around and hide under the car. They wait about, 30 to 40, maybe a couple of minutes, 30, 40 seconds, maybe a minute. I don't remember how long they waited for the bullet to land down. But bullet lands right next to them after flying into the air for, I think it was more than a minute. So right then and there, you can pose a question to the likes of Neil deGrasse Tyson. Where is Coriolis now? Biatch.
Well, the Earth rotation on their model, which isn't true, is 460 meters per second, or translated into feet, over 1,550 feet. So 1,550 feet, it should be away in 1 second's time.
It's absolutely
That's
ridiculous.
insane.
I mean, I remember one of those physicists that I don't remember what's his name. The mental dude, elderly. You guys talked about him a few months ago.
Billy Blue Balls.
He was talking. He was asked about artillery fire, and he proceeded to calculate how the artillery has to lead their target like 20 miles or 40 miles, and then he stopped himself. To realizing that, oh hell, I don't think that's actually possible, and then he proceeded to deny it anyways. That was hilarious.
As I say, if they want to assert that Earth turns underneath ammunitions or munitions, then I'm more than happy to say, okay, I'll take your assertion as read. Earth turns underneath a bullet. The sniper's got to account for the fact that when it leaves Earth, the Earth continues to turn underneath the bullet. Well, if Earth turns underneath a bullet after it's left the gun for us to observe it seeming to drift, because we're looking at it while still turning, then I'd look at a plane and it would seem to drift as I'm still turning after it leaves Earth. Well, that doesn't happen. So if you're going to account for it in a bullet, you'd have to account for it in a plane, because I'm looking up at that plane watching it seem to drift. Well, that means Earth's turning underneath it, for me to observe it seem to drift, like you're observing this bullet seem to drift. Well, we don't. We don't observe that effect. Useful that your example's only in the air for a couple of seconds, and is annihilated by something in the air for hours at a time. Because that would shorten flight times. Charlotte, North Carolina to LA would be an hour and a half instead of 4 hours. It isn't, because we don't have Earth turning underneath for us to have this not actual effect observed as we turn underneath stuff to give us the effect. We're not turning underneath anything. We're not turning.
Yeah, the usual rebut, stupidest rebut I've ever heard, I'm given when mentioning the airplanes and helicopters. People say, oh, they're guided by pilots, right? And you spend the next 15 minutes trying to explain, no, you're thinking of like lateral movement. Think about along the equator. And they just, some of them actually realize it, and some that, no, they pilot it. They're not realizing that it doesn't really matter you piloting or not. Flying along the equator for one way or the other, right? It doesn't matter if it's a bullet or a plane. You go into the same direction. The arguments you get from these people are unbelievable. And one of those people, like my relative, I'm like, dude, come on, wake up.
Coriolis is only ever observed as you rotate underneath something. That's how the effect is observed. So to have Coriolis, their claim of deviation at 15 degrees an hour, you've got to be observing something from a spinning platform. Now that has absolutely nothing to do with the plane and its path. The plane could literally be doing Red Bull loop-de-loops in the sky. Yep. Coriolis effect, let's take it away from Earth for a second. Let's have this example, same example. You've got the Red Bull team doing loop-de-loops in the sky. And you happen to be sat on a child's roundabout. Yep. Now what happens as you spin on the roundabout? Those planes doing their manoeuvres and doing a display over there in the west somewhere. You travel towards them, and then as you whip round on the roundabout, suddenly you're going away from them. And that effect is Coriolis. It looks like the acrobatic display in the sky over there suddenly is coming closer and closer, and then it disappears as you turn left on the roundabout. Well, that's not actual deflection. They're not actually deviating. Does it matter that they're doing loop-de-loops as you turn underneath them to see this not actual deviation? Because they're not actually deviating. You're just turning underneath them. Now let's translate the exact same thing to their claim that Earth spins. Same exact acrobatic display in the sky. But now Earth is turning underneath that acrobatic display. It doesn't matter what the display's doing, because what I'm now going to be observing, according to their claim, is me attached to a spinning Earth, getting closer and closer and closer to the display. Well, that means Earth's turning underneath the display. Who cares? They're not going to get a walkie-talkie command from someone saying, by the way, someone on the ground watching you is looking at you and it seems like you're drifting. They're going to go, it doesn't make any difference to us. We're just doing our loop-de-loops. Doesn't matter what they observe, not actually happening. Coriolises are not actual drift. So when people say, well, the plane would account for that. Account for what? Not actual deflection. You seeing it seem to drift as you turn underneath it. No, you don't have to account for that. It's a not actual deflection. It's just you turning underneath something according to your claim. Now, when we point that out, that Coriolis involves Earth turning underneath stuff and you observing it as you're attached, turning underneath it, they say, we wouldn't expect to see the deflection as we turn underneath at 15 degrees an hour. And you go, well, what on earth have you got to prove we're spinning then? Because 15 degrees an hour is your claim that's supposed to prove we spin. This deflection. Oh, we don't have that. We wouldn't expect it. We wouldn't expect 15 degrees an hour to prove we're spinning because we've got 2 reference frames. We've only got 1. Well, you've got no proof of Earth spin then. None. That's where we go with this conversation, and it's now come to a head. It's now been boiled down to 2 poisons. Poison number 1. We've got Coriolis deviation. Earth turns underneath snipers, bullets, and footballs. Oh, really? Well, it would also turn under drones, helicopters, and aeroplanes, reducing flight times and watching your drone seem to drift away from you 1,000 miles an hour on the equator. That doesn't happen. So no, we don't have 15 degrees an hour as Earth turns underneath, giving us Coriolis deflection. Apparent deviation from the ground as we turn underneath stuff. That does not happen. So death by lack of drift. Or tell us outright, we don't have drift, like Simon Dan did, and see how that works out. No drift, you say? No 15 degrees an hour deviation to prove Earth spins? Welcome to Flat Earth. So pick your poison, fundies. Just tell us there's no drift, so we can agree with you, and then laugh when you beg the question of it spinning together, with no demonstrable proof of that assertion, just a begging the question fallacy. Yeah, we'll all laugh at that poison that you've strung, with no deflection, and point out you're supposed to have drift. Or tell us you've got drift, and we'll point out that would shorten flight times as the Earth turns underneath, with us observing stuff seem to drift. Because we don't.
Maybe Coriolis
the seeming
is selective. You know, like some people have selective hearing.
Yeah, some people just ignore it. Go on, Rebel.
Yeah, the seeming contradictions arise every time you corner them. They're moving the goalpost. For the example that you brought up, example of Coriolis. As soon as you debunk Coriolis with their concession, they will tell you that we don't expect to see the coriolis, to say everything moves, there's only one reference, right? They back down, they're moving the goalposts. Just recently, Eric Debate's video came out talking about this NASA employee, I think Cheryl, the spokesperson. Sweet, nice lady who I'm sure has no idea what she's talking about, just parroting the nonsense that every other global parrots, attempts to debunk the flat Earth, bringing up the example of Aristophanes, measuring the sticks and shadows and the well and the sun and Syene and Alexandria, where her own priest, DeGrace Tyson, debunked that very notion on TV with his own mouth. Yet she's parroting. I mean, you see what I'm saying? As soon as you corner the DeGrace Tyson, he will back down and move the goalpost. You corner the Cheryl, they will deny that they ever made the claim, and they say, well, it doesn't prove it, but we have tons of other proofs, thousands. You don't expect to see coriolis, but there's thousands others.
Yeah, they're changing it. They used to say that you do expect to see coriolis. Snipers have to account for the coriolis.
Indeed, you cut off, mate, but yes, they're changing their story.
Yeah, and now they're saying, like they used to say, snipers have to account for the... Well, then that would mean aeroplane flights, destinations would constantly be changing, so they'd constantly be having to redirect their location. Their destination is always moving.
Most of the time, the notion
but that
of
doesn't
coriolis,
happen.
for most people, was as fucked up as mine was when I first heard the term coriolis. It was always attributed to hurricanes revolving in different directions in the different hemispheres, before I realized what the whole thing was about in terms of flat Earth. That's my degree of exposure to the term coriolis was.
Because that's
I never stopped to think about what coriolis actually is, right? And when you realize what coriolis effect actually is, it has nothing to do with rotation of the hurricanes.
No,
because rotations of the hurricanes is actually a physical phenomenon. They rotate. What coriolis is an apparent deflection, right? Things don't actually do what you think they're doing. It's you moving. It's relative motion.
Exactly.
You think the hurricanes are moving? No, dummy, it's you. And therefore, the statement about coriolis effect affecting weather on different quote-unquote hemispheres is as ridiculous as saying football traveling over the football field is affected by coriolis. Therefore, that's how the team was able to score the goal. I mean, this shit is so fucked up. You have to spend weeks to unwash the brains of the people. I was among them many years ago. Now we're like black belts.
Yeah, if the Earth was spinning, it wouldn't be coriolis.
For us, it's very simple, right? Once you understand, once you see it, it's so simple. And I feel dumb, right? Once you realize it, I feel embarrassed. I couldn't believe I bought this. I never even began to question it back then. Now I realize how dumb this is, right? But it takes years. Most people here are black belts, right? But try to explain that to other people from our perspective it's very difficult.
Indeed it is. And with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either Premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!